Did you know that Mississippi, not too long ago, ranked at the very bottom of literacy levels? And surprisingly, they have risen to the top in their literacy and their ranking on a national level. So today we're going to dive into what they've done to make this happen, how this affects you as a parent, and what your takeaways can be so that you can take this information today right back to the kitchen table. I'm Dr. Deanna, and in this video today, I'm going to walk you through what the state of Mississippi did to grow their readers, and more importantly, what you as a parent can take away from this to help your child grow in reading. We're going to talk strategies, we're going to talk our priorities as far as what really matters when it comes to literacy instruction, and so much more. So let's look at their success and what you can take away to help your child build confident reading skills starting today. Mississippi is now one of the top states when it comes to literacy. It's being hailed as the Mississippi Reading Miracle. But it didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't magic. So, what did they do? Back in 2013, Mississippi ranked as one of the lowest states when it came to literacy. They had a high percentage of third graders that were exiting third grade unable to read. So, the first step to making the shift in this very challenging situation was parents, lawmakers, and educators coming together to do what was in the best interest for children and really making a solid goal of every child is going to be a reader. That was their goal. And I know that that is your goal for your child because you're here watching this video. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what they did to make this happen. Because within just a few short years, Mississippi fourth graders were performing at or above the national average. That's a huge leap from going to be the bottom of the barrel out of 50 states to being towards the very, very top. And so that should make anyone sit up and take notice. Especially for a state that struggled so deeply with literacy, that's a huge leap. And I don't know about you, but whether you're a homeschooler or have a child that's going to an in-person brick and mortar school, educator, teacher, wherever you fit into this picture, that should make us take notice. I don't want to recreate the wheel. I want to find out what's actually working. So, what changed when it comes to Mississippi's literacy? Mississippi focused on something called structured literacy. And that is a very systematic approach to teaching phonics. It isn't only phonics that is important to developing a child's reading, but of course we do know that a child needs to understand how our written phonics system or our language system works in order to be able to decode words. They need to be able to approach words on a page with confidence, with strategies, and really knowing how that works. This teaching was based on very direct teaching, and it was based on how the brain learns to read. So teachers were actually trained in very science-backed ways of teaching reading. They were taught how the brain works. And this is so important because I have a very clear memory of when I was in my credentialing program, and there was a professor, and she said teachers are teaching practitioners. They are not medical doctors. We're not, making physical changes, as a doctor might do in surgery. But we have such an impact, whether you are teaching your child at home or you are teaching in a classroom. We are making physiological and structural changes to the brain as we help children make connections in their brain. Those neurons are firing and their brains are being wired and formed. We know that with young children, there is a lot of what we call neuroplasticity. That means that the brain is still developing and it still has the opportunity to be shaped and formed, so to speak, right? And so I loved that term, teacher practitioner, because it reminded me every single day of my responsibility. And that's what's being done right here with teachers in Mississippi. They're being treated as teaching practitioners that need to understand really the way that the brain functions, develops, and how it learns. The second thing they did was they had reading coaches that came in and worked directly with teachers, modeled for them, and helped them plan so they were really addressing the way that children actually learn to read. Now, in my practice as a reading coach, I do this for parents. And if you live locally to me, you can check that out on my website. But in any case, this is really something that was important. It gave teachers the support, not just the talk, but they did the walk. The third thing they did was some legislation, and it was the Literacy-Based Promotion Act, where third graders were required to be able to read in order to be promoted. So can we say that has an impact on fourth grade scores? Yes, because we know that only third graders who can read are being promoted to fourth grade. That is really important to understand. But also what it does is it's giving an opportunity to address any issues before you push children into an age where they're not learning how to read anymore, but they're reading to learn. Remember, if you haven't watched my videos before, I'll link it above, but when we go from third to fourth grade is about the time where we developmentally are expecting that a child has mastered the task of reading, and into fourth grade, they transition to a time where they are reading to learn. So that's an important transition. And if they are not ready with literacy skills in place, they're going to be just dead in the water. They are behind before they even get started. So this is a really crucial point at which they're making this decision of whether or not to promote the children to the next grade based on their literacy. And most importantly, and the thing that I want parents to hear, is they made phonics part of their non-negotiable daily instructional program. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you know that it doesn't have to be a long period of time every day. You can do this 5, 10 minutes every day, but systematic phonics in your child's learning, especially if you're homeschooling, should definitely be a critical part of your homeschool piece. Now, getting back to the state of Mississippi, let's look at the results. So the results have been incredible. Since 2013, the state of Mississippi has had the highest growth in fourth grade reading scores in the nation. In 2024, for the very first time, Mississippi students scored above the national average in the NAEP assessment. This is a reading test that is used to gauge children's reading across the nation. And what do teachers have to say about this? They say that children are blending words, they have more confidence when it comes to reading, and they're enjoying books, again, for the first time in a long time on a wider level. And while there's still work to do, especially when it comes to the middle age area, this shows that when the focus is really placed on what science says about our learning processes and that we actually take action, that we can have a huge impact, especially when we come together as a community of educators, teachers, parents, and all of the players, all the stakeholders in this coming together to make it happen. And if you are a homeschooling family, this absolutely applies to you because you can access resources, you can access supports through your, maybe a local library or a co-op or some sort of learning pod there are so many options as well for you to come together in a community of learners and parents to help your children learn to read. So what can we as parents take away from Mississippi's success story? Because I'm all about putting these strategies into the hands of parents. The first thing, and I can't say this enough, is to focus on systematic phonics. And if you don't know what that is, I really encourage you to take a look through my videos. I have a lot of information on science-backed ways of teaching phonics skills and vowel teams and all sorts of things. And this is really important to understand in order to help your child learn to read. So just like the teachers in Mississippi, you can focus on the sounds in the words. I have some example videos where I model working with children and helping them go back and listen to those sounds. That's a great way to help them go back to a word and, for instance, the word cat. And what are the sounds in that word? K, a, t. Okay, let's stretch it out, cat, and blend it, cat. And that is a really solid way to help your child make that sound to letter connection and right into blending. Number 2, don't underestimate the importance of blending and segmenting and wordplay. I see a lot of parents want to go directly to the letters. They want to see their kids blending those words. And that's because we correlate that to reading. That's what we understand as reading. But the reality is there are some important milestones before that that you can do through what we call wordplay. I do a lot of this, especially in my little lessons that I do with children. I have some examples right here on my YouTube channel, and we listen to the sounds, like, again, the word cat, k, a, t, cat. And that's a way of being able to listen to each sound and blend it together. And of course, there are some other ways to help children with blending, and I go into that into some more depth. Again, check out my other videos because I have so much more information that I can include right in this video. But that is very, very important. Including wordplay, phonemic awareness is critical. The third thing is something that has recently been shown through studies to be dying off, and that is read aloud to your kids. Kids need to have parents read to them, not only because it creates that connection, which is also foundational and very important, but it also is modeling to them what it is to be an expert reader. You're modeling fluency, you're modeling expression. You might come across a word that you have to kind of look at and you can show them, hey, sometimes I need to use my word strategies or my sound strategies. So reading aloud to your child is an excellent opportunity. And if they're a reader, take turns reading with them. That's a great way to build their confidence and help it to be a really enjoyable experience and work on fluency. In fact, Mississippi's reading teachers used this strategy to help build fluency in their learners. So repeated readings, especially that book that you've heard, more times than you can care to remember, but that's building fluency in your child. It's building understanding of what we call syntax and semantics in our language. And that's just the way our sentences fit together, how words go together in a sentence and our phrasing of them for our expression. All of these things are very important to creating readers that enjoy reading, because if it's sounding like robot language in your head, that is less enjoyable than if you're actually bringing the characters to life. So reading to your child is a double thumbs up. Now here's the secret sauce, all right? I promised you all the little details of what they're doing correctly. Consistency is key. I said it a little bit in the beginning of this segment, but 10 minutes a day. And again, please, please, please do not walk away from this thinking you have to do long, drawn out lessons. That is so opposite of effective. 5-10 minutes a day of really going over phonics with your child, that's a double thumbs up from me. And it's going to do wonders for your child's literacy and their joy of reading. And number 5, if you're in a place right now where you feel you're in a reading ditch, There's this hole that you've fallen into with your child. There's frustration, there's battles. Believe that you can turn it around with small steps, one foot in front of the other. If a whole state can do it, your family can too. And I am here to help you every step of the way. I have so many resources, and really the purpose of it is to encourage families to know that it's those small quality learning moments that matter more than the quantity. If you're frustrated, you can take a step back. That's okay to do too. So I'm here to encourage you, to show you how you can do this in a way that will build confidence in your child and that will make it more joyful for you, because that counts too. That matters too. Our children's connections to their learning experiences definitely is foundational. With the right strategies, by listening to what science has to say about the way the brain works, we can really bring reading to our children. And if you're interested in more strategies and resources, I encourage you to check the description below. Give this video a like and make sure to subscribe, because every week I have new videos that come out that either model a lesson and strategies or give you really great up-to-date information like this video on how you can take these strategies right back to your kitchen table. And with that, I'll see you next time when I teach you your super learning strengths, one child and family at a time.